Hello, my name is Debbie. I'm Owlandgator Stitcher. Welcome to Flosstube number 71. This is a video mainly about cross stitch, sometimes about what I'm reading and watching, and a little bit of life. If this is your first time here, welcome. I hope that you like what you see and click on that subscribe button. And if you're a returning viewer, thank you so much for coming back. I love all the interaction with everyone, the comments, whether it's here directly on this video or in Facebook or Instagram. It's just great to have a chance to share this great love that we have of stitching. And I hope that everyone had a good January. Mine was very quiet, which is kind of the way I like things to be. I'm going to jump in with the stitching right away, and then I'll get to the other stuff at the end. So I have a very ambitious 2025 with what I want to accomplish. I may not accomplish all of that with my stitching, and that's okay. But I find that having goals drives me and helps me stay focused to get progress on whips that I want to. I also have a huge number of kitted projects, although kitted sometimes just means a piece of fabric with a pattern. It doesn't necessarily mean I have all the threads, because I work with a master set of DMC. And so I also want to make sure that I get good starts at least once a month on a new project. So my new start for January, I think last time I actually spun with you and I came up with Nottingham, and I couldn't find it. And the reason why I couldn't find it, which I figured out later, was I had set it to one side because I wasn't happy with the fabric that I had chosen. And when I looked at it again, I wasn't happy. So I need to find a better piece of fabric to go with that pattern. So instead I spun on my own. And what I came up with was Celtic Winter. This is lavender and lace. I think many of you are familiar with it. I am just doing it as called for. I'm not doing a conversion. There are some amazing conversions out there, but I decided just to do the called for. So this is what it will look like. And my goal on all of these is to get 1,000 stitches into a new start. I know there's a lot of like, oh, 200 stitches means a new start, and great. But I wanted to actually see progress in these. I have too many things with 200 stitches that have just languished. Maybe I pick them up and put a couple more 100 stitches in, but I don't really, they're a start, but they're not anything you can recognize. So here's what 1,000 stitches looks like. And so I just started along the top. And I started in the upper right-hand corner, which is not normally where I start, but because of, if those of you familiar with this piece, I'll just hold it up again so you can see the picture. This picture here, you can see because of the way her dress extends over the side, this corner is not actually the true upper left. And so I didn't want to miscount or anything. And so I instead chose to do an upper right start. The way I stitch it's very easy for me to start wherever I think is most appropriate with the pattern. So I just did a lot of like sort of the motif around, a little bit of the, space around the letters. The letters themselves, I think most of them are beads, or there's a lot of beading in them, and I will bead at the end. So I am doing this on 28 count even weave. It's To Live and Die LA, and it's called Winter in My Heart is the color. And it's this beautiful mottled blue fabric with you can't really see it here at all. You can see it a little bit when it's sort of folded over. Small hints of violet, but really it's even probably a little bit stronger here than it is in person. But it's an absolutely beautiful color. I picked this up at a retreat a few years ago where To Live and Die in LA, she actually wasn't there, but the person who was running the retreat did agree to vend for her. So that's where that is. Okay. My next piece, I also am trying to touch, if a whip has a birthday, I am going to try and touch it that week. I'm not saying on its birthday, because if life happens, I'm just busy or something, I don't want to feel like, oh, well, I missed the birthday, I'm not going to stitch on it. So by giving myself the birthday week, it allows myself to have some flexibility. I think May and December, that may have to go by the wayside because I have a lot of starts during those 2 months. But for the other months, I'm definitely going to try and do it. So the one whip I had as a birthday, it's actually a holiday whip. Right here, pull it out. This is from an issue of World of Cross Stitching. So this is what it looks like. It does call for this red polka dot fabric. I chose not to do the polka dot, and I'm not going to stitch in stitch in snowflakes or anything. I'm just going to do it there. I am fascinated with lampposts, and I think it goes back to my absolute love of the Chronicles of Narnia. And if you've read them, you know the lamppost is a very important part of it, and I just love lampposts. So this is one I probably started it 2 years ago. It doesn't come out very often, and that's part of the reason why I like having this goal of stitching on things around their birthday, because it means at least we'll get some love. So what I did this time, I had this sort of lighter gray. It's not a light gray, but a lighter gray compared to the charcoal here. I filled all of that in, brought these things down, and then this very light gray here, and a little bit of yellow, and then this just ahead on my thread. So making good progress. This time, I got it in about 500 stitches. This time it wasn't a hard stitching session. I love the way all of this detail works here, but of course, to get all of that detail, you need to do a lot of quarter stitches, and it's a magazine pattern, so it's just not the easiest thing to read. I am stitching this on a 32 count even weave from Bestitch Me, color Cardinal. I got this years ago when I was in her fabric of the month. I no longer do any fabrics of the month, simply because I have so much fabric and I don't need to be buying more and just putting it in my stash. I love it. I still buy fabric that I don't have any plans for immediately, but I don't need to get a couple pieces every month. And then of course, when I go to a store and see beautiful fabric, I buy more. I just rather go to the store, put the fabric down. So next piece I worked on, and I'm sure I pulled this out for a prompt somewhere, and it is on my what I call 25 for 2025. That is from Fandom Stitching Central, a game on Facebook, and they are trying to figure out. They do have a Discord channel, but that's just chit chat. They are looking to see if there's a way they can move to Discord permanently, just with all the Facebook issues, pictures getting eaten, people going in Facebook jail because they're posting too much, all that kind of stuff. So, but right now it's 100%. The gameplay is on Facebook. But anyhow, I'm sure it was, I don't know if it was for that group, or I think it was actually maybe Daily 30. I needed a circle. So that was a circle. But I love this piece. So it's not exactly like it was a sacrifice to have to pull it out and work on it. I did not get 2020. You have a full year. You pick 25 projects in Fandom. You have a full year to get 25 stitches on them. They're the projects you pick. And but you have a year. So some of these I'll just chip away till I get there. Whoops. And my needle minder is sticking to my, sorry if you hear that. I have a metal bar on the side of this desk. So here's where it is now. So I made it not this stitching session. You can see I've made it to the upper two corners. I started in the left hand, made it all the way over to the upper right hand corner. I made a decision not to go down because this is where you put in the year, and I will put the year I finished it, and I have no idea when I'm going to finish it. It's a lovely stitch, but I have so many projects right now, who knows? So I made a decision I'm going to try and hit that third corner down there. So I just pulled this down, and I think I had already had sort of this dragon done, but I did all this stuff here. So you can start to see this is part of a ship. And the corner isn't too far down here, but it is some pretty dense stitching here. It's not just like a border that's 2 stitches wide going all the way down. So I'll hold it back. Here's where I am. And love my long dog samplers. I just, like everything else, I have so much I want to stitch and not enough time. So next piece was another one I just pulled out because, and it is on my 20 for 25. And it is Tilton Crafts. This is Aria by Firelight. And this one, you've heard me talk about it. I'm going to continue to work on it. I'm not thrilled with it. Here's where I am. So obviously I did a lot of work up here. And the painting is dark in this corner. So that so much doesn't bother me. But I thought when I got to the birdcage, a lot more detail will come out, and it hasn't. I had at some point, because I was trying to stitch black, I had come down and started the black on the fireplace, and I said, let me see what the fire looks like. So it's starting to take shape. So I did. That's why I jumped down here and did it. That's what so all of this sort of orange and yellow colors is everything I did this time. I did hit my 20 for 25 on this. So I was really pleased with that. I think I put in about 2,500 stitches or so. I think next time I work on it, I'll probably start working in here just to sort of connect the two pieces. Everything I've counted, it's in the right place, so I'm not worried about that. But I think when you're looking at a full coverage, you really need to have like a chunk of stitching done. You can't just like, if I just do the fire without having everything around it to really see whether it's working or not. So I do enjoy this. This is a 22 count fabric, and hard anger, I think is what it is. So that's where I am on that. I also have goals on all my projects that I picked 2 years ago. I said, here's where I want to hit on all of these projects. And I knew it was going to take me more than a year. I didn't think it was going to take me that long. That project is to get to 10%. It's like at 7.6% now. So it's full coverage is my comfort stitching. And because that's 22 count, I can see it easily. And I just, it's the kind of thing where when I'm a little bit tired and don't want to have to concentrate, it's in Pattern Keeper. I can just pick it up and go. And so that's why that one is easy and it will come back out again. Next piece I worked on is Grand Library from Charted by Heaven and Earth Design, artwork by Amy Stewart. This is the supersized max color. This is the not going to finish it in my lifetime piece, and I'm okay with that. So really want to get to the romance and that. Like if I got kind of that square done, I'd be very happy. And that's so therefore I started in the bottom bottom left-hand corner, because I thought that would be the easiest way. I did actually think about doing a center start, and then I decided not to. So I'm down here. I am actually my goal on this was only 3%. And so again, goal set up several years ago. I'm like at 2.8%. So doing really well on this. This is a 25 count even weave, doing it 1/1 full cross. And what I did this time was I filled in this light. So it was really bothering me that it was just like this empty space. It's now filled, but of course it's like almost the same color as the fabric, so you can't really tell. And then as colors in that light where I would pull them down wherever they were, I finished that light, and then I started, like there were still a couple of colors in his face that weren't done. So I finished that, and then because this, there's a lot of confetti, it's what makes it look great, also what makes it difficult. So I pick up and I do some of the confetti, some of the ninja stitches that were over here, and if the colors were pulled anywhere else. And then I just had to finish his leg. Like his other leg is still back here, but like having him floating in space was really bothering me. And this was more or less one color. I think I probably had like the outline of his leg, sort of like you can see here. And so I'm like, I just need to do it. So I picked up, I can't remember if it was black or if it was 939, and adjusted that. So at least he's standing on a leg. Don't really care about the other leg because he's not floating in space anymore. And he is an art thief. This is the mystery one. So enjoying working on this and looking forward to picking it up again in the near future. Next piece was one of my Whip Go pieces. This is upside down, first of all. This is His Eye is on the Sparrow by designed by Heartstring Samplery. And I love this piece. This is a very slow going piece for me though. It's something that I like working on, but I find the pattern very hard to read. Apparently when she initially published this, whatever she did, and then she realized she did it in the way that she usually publishes her patterns, but most of her patterns are significantly smaller. And this one did not, whatever. So she had republished it in a more user-friendly way. But let me tell you, the pattern, like the colors, there's not a color key on one page. It is spread out over 3 or 4 pages. So when you're trying to figure out what color a symbol is, you have to flip through 3 or 4 pages to find that symbol. There's also backstitching, and she mentions use this color for backstitching, but she doesn't actually, take it back. There is backstitching. she says the black line indicates back stitching, but she doesn't actually say, as far as I can tell, what color to use. There isn't much in this pattern, so I think I can just wing it. But things like that, it makes it a little bit hard to read. The symbols are also very small. So that's where we stand. So this is my whip go piece. My goal on a whip go is either to do 1,000 stitches or to hit its goal, or if I've already hit its goal, to just stitch on it for a stitching session. But this one, my goal is to finish page 1. I'm still not there. I like the flowers going down do go on to another page. But what did I do this time? I focused a lot on this center motif. The flowers were done, but the basket mostly was not done. So I finished the basket. I started the outline of the deer. I did this bird here. I did these. I think that one was already done. There's a little like ghost motif here, and it's just a motif. It's not an animal. Did this deer and did this. So there are a couple other very small motifs, and then this is like the start of a bird to finish it, and then there is the quote on here. I do have visions of, the quote on this doesn't speak to me. It says his eye is on the sparrow and I know he watches me. That quote doesn't speak to me. So I would like to change it. I haven't decided. I'm kind of toggling back and forth between Emily Dickinson, Martin Luther King Jr., and Amanda Gorman. So, and I still have to chart it. So not sure when I'm going to get around to that, but that's sort of my thoughts on it. All right, the next piece I had, which was my Whip Go piece, was the Pandemic Sampler. This was gifted to all of us as a free chart from Sarcy Girl. It's beautiful, very generous of her. And my goal on this was just to finish page 1, and so I hit my goal, and I hit my Whip Go goal. And to get there was about 600 or 700 stitches, so I did that. So basically what I did was I did this, I think, this whole flower and had to do half this flower because the way the page break is, I was just using colors up on the needle and I did that, but that is one page. I did this motif, this little tree. I think I had to do the pot and there was like part of the stem, but not all of it. It was, I think, page 1, except not to do the house. I think I left that for another one. And I had to do some of the border up here. The border is easy to do. It's repetitive. Once you get into the swing of it, it's very easy to do, but it is chunky. So that's where I am with Pandemic Sampler. All right, the next one I worked on also just to achieve the goal. And I love it. So don't, like when I say every piece I work on, I enjoy. I may have issues with the charting or I've made a mistake or whatever. And that's why I don't pull it out as much. But if I didn't like something, I wouldn't be working on it. So this is Fairy Tale Motifs from Stitchy Princess. She's a Ukrainian-based designer. And here's where I am. So this is a small piece. This is about halfway done. My goal was to get half of it done, so I've gotten that goal and a little bit more. Those birds do look skinny. I think there's a little bit more in them, but that was below the page break, and I was running out of, not the color, the whole thing, but like my thread was running out on those, and I just didn't bother to complete them. But this is a fun little stitch. The color is J from Pictures Plus, and it's a 16 count Ada. Really love this pattern. The green gets a little ghosty at time, the light green here. But with the exception of sort of what's in her dress, which is obviously surrounded by other things, it's all just decorative. So I don't care if you can't see it. It's not taking away from the pattern. I just wanted to make sure that the white popped on the fabric because there is so much white and there are the birds and other things. So really enjoying working on this one. All right, the next one was one I am trying to get 8 finishes of starts that were from not this year. And this was my Whip Go call, and I wanted to get there, and I didn't because I kept running out of colors. So this is, I half pulled it out of the Q-snap because I am so close to a finish. So I'm not even going to show the cover photo because that's how close it is. That is done except for this branch at the bottom. So I've run out of the color here, and it's probably a couple hundred more stitches. Having said that, I think I put in over 4,000 stitches on this month. It was a lot more stitching than I thought. It was one of my 20 for 25 pieces, and I've hit that goal. But I'm not obviously there yet with finishing it, which makes me a little sad because it was both a finish and a goal, because the goal was to finish it. But I'm getting close. I'm going to Brick City Cross Stitch Store tomorrow. She does what she calls a garage sale, where people who are stitchers and want to sell their stash can come in and rent a table, and then we come and deal with them directly. So you're at a garage sale, she's just providing the space for them. And so I've gone for the past 3 years, and I really enjoy it. So I'm hoping, though, that while I'm at Brick City, that she does have this. And if she does, I will probably come home and just finish stitching this, because that's how much I just want to get this done. It's really cute. It says, "We were together. I forget the rest." And it's not a Walt Whitman quote, but the sentiment was taken from a Walt Whitman quote, and it's on the pattern. Next time I show this out, I will read the whole thing to you, the whole quote. But a really cute stitch, and not that many colors. That was the other thing. This is one of Lindy Stitch's earlier patterns, and so I just think there were things that she didn't realize when she was doing it. For example, that multiples of these colors required multiple skeins, and like the stuff in the body and the wing of this bird, which I had changed the color, but it required 2 skeins. Even it doesn't matter what color you used. And also some of this color in here, I came very close to running out, or I did run out, but it was like 4 or 5 stitches here, so I just found something in my stash that matched, and then that's the same color over here in some of the dots in this bird. But I really like, given that they're surrounded by another color, I wasn't worried about the dots on the bird. So just things like that, where I think because it was earlier in her career, the pattern, like now she is so meticulous about this, requires 2 skeins, and also, like, most of these colors aren't heavily modeled. And I started this I think only in 2021, but I kitted up in 2020. And so I was like exactly using the called for. Had I done it again, I certainly for all these whitish colors, I would have just used Ecru or 3865, whatever matches. And then I would have kept for this and the leaves and stuff, I would have used the fancy floss that were instead. But it is a beautiful pattern. All right, and the last piece I have to show you that I worked on is White Owl. This is artwork by Kayomi Harai, charted by Artisy. And this is a piece, so my goal was to get to 30%, and also it's on my 25 for 2025. And I've hit, I'm at 35% on this piece now. So I've hit my goal, but because I want to finish it this year, I have to put in about 4,000 stitches a month to get there. So here's where I am. So this time I worked over here. So a lot of the sky got through a lot of the very dark colors, which I think slowed me down. Not because it was really easy stitching, but it would just get so repetitive after a while. And then I did a lot of work in the bird. So Artisy is, does it say on here how many colors this is? 47. So, it's not, it's not, max color or anything like that, but because to get the details in the wing and stuff, you are having to, it's not block stitching either, but it looks beautiful. So I'm not quite, where I had in my Q snap, it was 2 full pages and then like a little column, I think like 1 column and a couple, I don't know, say 13 rows, but a column, you know what I mean? So it was quite a wide space, and 4,000 stitches didn't get there. Artisy pages are not huge. I think what I'm going to do is probably move over here rather than trying to get to that finish. Move over here and start working on this side, just to get a little bit more done on the owl. But I'm loving it. I love the blues in this and the way the owl pops against that night sky. gorgeous. All right, so that is all that I have stitched to show you. I'm going to talk a little bit about my plans now. So I am doing WIPGO, and all my WIPGO board looks like is the numbers 1 through 25. I have all my projects on index cards, and when I work on a piece, the index card goes to the bottom of the pile. And so when Jessie Marie calls things, she, like this, I can't remember if it was like 7 and 8, 8 and 9. I know there were two numbers next to each other. As soon as I see the numbers, I pick up that pile and I count through until I'm like, oop, it's like the correct number of the card. And then I take the lower, so that's the lowest number. And then I take the higher number to go through. And that's how I do my WIPGO draws. So my 2 WIPGO pieces, this is the first one. This is the tea table. This is a very old pattern, probably from the 80s or 90s, Serendipity Designs. The WIP is not that old. And here is where I am on that. So my goal on this is to, well, for WIPGO, it's 1,000 stitches. You can see that. It is to finish that teapot. That teapot is huge. So 1,000 stitches will not finish that teapot, but it will make a good dent in it. And also somewhere in here is the center of the pattern, and given the nature of this pattern, and I've tried to make Xeroxes of it and it doesn't work very well. I have what I use to copy it at home is a very cheap printer, and so the copies aren't the best, and then with the creases and the pattern and stuff, so it's been challenging to try and get there. But I know like the actual center, like 4 points on the pattern I've hit, and so now it's just a question of the center fold. And so it's not hard stitching. There are some blends, but again, you can tell by this thing, it's a lot of block stitching in there. So once I get going and figure out where I am, it's not hard stitching. So I'll put 1,000 stitches on this. It will not hit the goal that I had set, but it will. Progress is progress. My second WIPGO call is from an old issue of Cross Stitch and Country Crafts. And here's where it is. My goal on this one was just, so the center motif is absolutely done, including all the back stitching. Oh, and I also meant to mention, I am only doing the top bit here. I'm not doing the quote. So at some point, I'm just going to pull this across and be done. And I knew that from the beginning. That's why it's a smaller piece of fabric. And so my goal was to get this side done. In terms of cross stitches, there's fewer than 1,000 stitches. I don't know with the back stitch what that will come up to, but I'd like to hit the goal on this month. And so if it takes me 2,000 stitches to get there, I'll work on it because I would like to make some good progress on this and cross off one of my goals. I have, for those of you who have not watched my videos, I have 43 goals that I am trying to accomplish this year, or 43 pieces left that I'd like to accomplish. Anyhow, my English is a little bit gone today, which I am a native English speaker, so it's just my brain being scrambled. But anyhow, I would like to accomplish those goals. It works out to about 4 a month. You'll see this month I only hit 3 because of the lack of floss, but we'll go there. All right, the next piece I'd like to hit the goal on is this one, Love One Another. This is what it looks like. I am not, partially because the fabric, I'm tight on the fabric, so I'm not doing all of this. I might even have to move up the roses a little bit to get there. I probably won't do those speckles here, but I love the way the colors pop off this black fabric. So, and this is the top, and you can see I'm like not even sure I have a full inch up here. So it's going to be fun to FFO this one. My goal on this is to finish the letters. So you can see I'm almost done. I think there might be a little bit more yellow around 1, and then to finish these. And then it's just a lot of backstitch. Not hard, and it for them except for like the A and the L, which are a little bit funky. Everything, it's just straight trace around backstitching. So it's not hard. It just takes time. So looking forward to getting that done. Another piece I think I can accomplish the goal this month is Chester's Place Whistle Stop Stitcher Designs. This was a piece that I don't know if you can still get it or not. She's on Etsy, but there was a piece that she initially put out to raise funds for surgery that a cat her sister had adopted needed. She blasted that through the water very quickly, and then she republished it and took the proceeds and donated some of the proceeds, like the profit, to the shelter where her sister adopted the cat. But because it was a charity piece, I'm not sure if it's still available or not on her website. She hasn't done videos in a really long time, so I don't know what the status is of that. My goal on this, I think, was to finish I think it was to do the house. So it's a lot of stitching, but it's not hard stitching. So yeah, so I just need to pick it up and work on it. And then I have 4 pieces with birthdays this month. I am not going to show you all of them because most of them are just going to get a little bit of stitching. But the one that I would like to give quite a bit of love to this month is Portrait of Veronica. And this is Mirabilia. I'm doing this on 32 count linen, Star Sapphire, which I just think is misnamed because it's a light green fabric. There's nothing blue about it, but this is absolutely stunning. Such a beautiful design. And this is a piece that I would like to get done this year. I do not know if I'm on the wait list to go to the Queen City Stitch Retreat in October. So I don't know if I'm going to get to go or not. And if I don't get to go, that's okay. I met Nora Corbett, the previous one. So I'm not, if I get to go, great. I love it. Maggie and Amy do magnificent retreats. But I'm going to the Chatelaine one in July, so I'll get to see them then. So I don't know if this is possible or not, but this month I would like to finish the cross stitching. Obviously there's a lot of beading. I think I purchased this at Brick City a few years ago, and I think she said there's like 1,200 beads in here. So beading will take a lot. So I don't know if I can finish the cross stitching or not, but I can certainly make a good progress on it. So that is all of the stitching I have to show you, and my plans. So I am now going to, why don't we talk about what my new start is going to be? We're going to see if I can actually successfully do it this time. All right. And I had it pulled up, and now I can't find there. We go, tiny decisions. All right. We're going to see. Hope. Okay. I am not going to go pull it out because it's all buried away in my closet, but that is one of the Songbird series. I have one going. I have Wisdom right now. I believe, and that's a very wintry piece. I believe Hope is a spring one. At least it would make sense if it's a spring one. But just think of like renewal and all that kind of stuff that comes in spring. I think many of you have seen it, so I'm not going to pull it out, but glad I get to start working on another one from the Songbird series. So looking forward to that. Okay. I got a lot of haul. I know a lot of you are not here for the haul, so thank you for watching up to this time. Otherwise, I am going to show you what I have. And it's from a variety of sources, and some of it I wasn't looking to buy, but the opportunity sprang up. So let me just show you what I have. So the first one I actually did not buy this year. This was from the Haid Sal from last year, Heaven and Earth Designs. Did a stitch along last year, and if you completed the pattern, which last year was about 60,000, mine was 58,000, and I think some of the bigger ones were up to like 61, 62,000. If you completed it, you got the 10 pattern or the other 9 patterns that were available as part of the stitch along, and you got 2 free patterns from Heaven and Earth Design. So I have had my eye for a very long time on Josephine Wall. And so I bought this one. This is Supersize Max Color Alternate Reality. I just love it. It's beautiful. So I was very pleased to finally get a Josephine Wall in my collection. No plans to start it anytime soon. And I don't know what happened to the other one, but I also got one by Ciro Marchetti or Ciro Marchetti. I don't speak Italian, so I'm not 100% sure how to pronounce his name. It's tucked away somewhere. All right, the next couple patterns I have to show you. I'm a huge cat lover. My cats often do not make appearances because they don't like to be held. And where I'm sitting right now, it's not convenient for them. There's no, like, they could theoretically hop up on my table and knock everything off, but so I just shut them out of the room. But I do love my cats, and I love cats generally. And I am in a Facebook group for my alma mater that's focused on cats. So lots of cat pictures, cat videos, things like that. It feeds a need I have to have all the things cats. And someone posted a picture of a finished cross stitch, and she didn't know who had done it, like who designed it, but she just thought it was really cute. And so I went on a quest to find it because I needed it. And so here is what it was. And so it says, "Is this where we wait for mom?" Yep. And this is the silhouette of two kitties at the end of the rainbow bridge. And I didn't even have to look very hard. I just went to Etsy and typed in like rainbow bridge cats. And there are a bunch of patterns, but this one popped up. The designer is Cross Stitch Foxy. I believe it's the designer. It says she's based in France, but she has a Russian/Ukrainian name, so I'm not actually sure if she's in France or she is in France and she just is originally from one of those countries or another country and just has a Russian-sounding name. But I love that one. When I stitch it, I probably will say, "Is this where we wait for mom and dad?" Because my husband is very much the cat dad. In fact, sometimes I'm the spare human, not him. And then these were really inexpensive, and if you bought a couple, you got them cheaper. So I bought this one called Moon Lake, which is full coverage, but it's, again, small. And then another full coverage, but also even smaller. Beautiful beach. So very happy about those. Okay, let's see what I have here, if I can easily get these up here. You're probably getting more of a view than you wanted to. Okay, oops. All right. Yeah, these are all, everything's going to fall. Sorry, you got really close up view of me. So my brother gave me a, actually, I don't think this is, no, this is not one I got for my brother. I take it back. Brick City Cross Stitch is closing. The owner, Jean, has decided to retire. So I wish her very much happiness. We don't know what's going to happen to the store, but she's not closing it until April. And so, but she's sort of doing these gradual sales. No, and the only one that she announced date was she put some of the patterns and she just really marked them down. So I went down a couple weeks ago, took a look, and bought a few. So this is Scenic Sampler from Heartstrings Samplery. So there's that. And this is one, I can't even really read the name. Oh yes, this is from something called Cross Stitching Art. I've never heard of them, but it's a fancy lady. Really pretty picture. And it's called Scarlet. So just go with it, even though she's in blue. It's her name. She doesn't have to wear colors that match her name. Her name is Scarlet. Lovely lady in blue. I got a Butternut Road. This one, I've seen quite a few people have this one. And then, let's see. Oh, here we go. I got some of my favorite things. This is a Rosewood Manor. Here's my second pattern, and it was buried in here somewhere. This is the second pattern I got from the Haid sale. Well, not the Haid sale, the Haid sale. And it's called Nighttime Story Color Expansion. So really pretty. And it was sort of funny because I knew I wanted the Josephine wall, so that was a done deal. And then I really waffled back and forth about what my second pattern was going to be. And you had to fill it out, and then several weeks later, you got it emailed to you, and I forgot what I had selected. And so this is what I got. And it was on my short list, so I knew it wasn't a mistake. I just remembered incorrectly. I thought I had put down an Amy Stewart, but this is the one I got, and I'm very happy with it. So that was great. All right. Now let's see. Okay. This is kind of going, how do I dig in here? All right. Now I'm going to get into what I was mentioning my brother. My brother for Christmas very generously gave me a gift card to 123 Stitch. And so I had to buy all, spend the gift card, of course, so to get some threads and stuff. But I got a bunch of patterns too. So I got the glass slipper, which is like a Cinderella one from Bella Filipino. I got Halloween Squirrel from the Blue Flower. I've started Summer Squirrel. Yes. And I have Winter Squirrel, so I just still need to get Spring Squirrel. There's, and then I will have, I think, this set of 4. So I got that one. I got, this is something else. All right. And then Spring Forest Scrapbook. This is the Lindy Stitches one. I already have the Blue Flower one. For those of you who are regular watchers of my videos, you know that I did the Snowy Snuggles Scrapbook. It's a bit of a mouthful to say, which is a collaboration between Lindy Stitches and the Blue Flower. And so this is, I think this is their first one. This is Spring Forest Scrapbook. And so I already had the Blue Flower one. You have to buy 2 patterns to get the whole thing. This is what the whole thing looks like on the back. And so they're just, I think they're like 61 by 61, something like that, squares. So smaller than a hawk run, but sort of the same idea. Okay, let's see. And then I had to get a dimensions kit, of course. So this one is Memory Lane. Really pretty. Little quaint village. And I had never tried a Letty Stitch before, so I just wanted to get one. And this one was on sale, and it's called Magical Horses. And it is the kit with all of that. I was looking at some Mereshka kits. For those of you who stitch a lot of kits and have done Mereshka, 123 Stitch didn't have it on their website, and I was at the point ready to buy. I didn't want to have to wait for answers. It was a weekend. It didn't say on the website if they are stamped kits or if they are counted cross stitch. I don't do stamped kits. It's not, stitching is meant to be, it's a hobby, and I don't find doing the stamped kits to be as fun as doing the counted cross stitch. So as much as I complain about the pattern here and having to do it here at times, doing the stamped kits, and there are many reputable stamped kits. I mean, a lot of them are pirated, but there's many reputable companies. So it's not that. It's just, I really don't want to, if I'm going to spend a lot of time on a project, I want it to be something that I really enjoy, and I wouldn't enjoy doing a stamped kit so much. I know people out there love them, and that's great. But for Mereshka kits, do you know, are they all counted cross stitch? I mean, I know people who definitely have them who say the ones they have are counted cross stitch, or do they do a combination like Dimensions does? Do you know? Drop me a line, comment, or send me a message on IG or however. All right. So I also, many of you know, I am a volunteer at my Friends at the Library, and some of it I sort donations when they come in, but I spend most of my time organizing, shelving, pricing, all of that in the romance section. It's a huge sale we do twice a year, so it's not like, there are a lot of libraries have like a little wing where they can sell some books. We have a warehouse, basically. Think of like it was an old car dealership and they took it over. So think like that kind of space. It's huge. But there is a crafting section. A lot of it is things like quilting and embroidery and macrame and lots of other things. All wonderful crafts, ones I don't do. There's a small cross-stitch section, and I go look, but a lot of the stuff that is donated is not things that I would want to stitch. So I always go and peruse, and maybe I'll buy a pattern, but I don't really buy a lot. And as a volunteer, I am allowed to buy things prior to the sale. I have to wait for them to be priced, and I pay for them, but I don't have to wait till a sale and then go grab them. There was a stitcher, and I don't want to think why things were donated the way they were. but it's newer patterns, some kitted, and hundreds of patterns, and then some things that were kitted up, and they were donated. And I don't like to think about why they were donated, because this wasn't someone who used to cross stitch and no longer does. Aged eyes. I think someone may have passed away. I'm not sure. It makes me sad, but nonetheless, her family chose to donate them. That's what I'm assuming happened. But I bought one pattern, and the person who prices them, our sale is priced to sell. Like, this is raising money for literacy programs, and so things are priced to sell. Like, if they're just sitting on our shelves, we're not raising money. So I did pick up this Barbara Anna. I don't have any Barbara Anna beyond a few patterns and magazines. This is Christmas is Coming. It's the snail. I've seen people stitch this, and I just really like it, so I got that. There were so many other patterns that I liked that I could have picked up. I mean, there was Jardin Privé, and now, of course, all the ones that are there or have escaped my mind. But I sort of said I'm going to focus. I can't buy everything. But then what happened was this person had clearly kitted some things up, and they were priced so reasonably that even if I don't stitch the pieces, the fabric themselves, they're all hand-dyed fabrics, and so I had to get them. So I picked up 5 or 6 miras. So this one is Spring in My Garden with fabric. And that is, I have to open it up. Yeah, this is still closed. But it's a 32 count hand-dyed fabric. You can sort of see the modeling there. And if I do these patterns, I may not even do them on these fabrics, but I couldn't do it. Winter in the Garden. Also with fabric. And I haven't pulled these apart because I just wanted to show you what they were like. They will get pulled apart after this video. Summer in My Garden. Also with a lovely piece of hand-dyed fabric. And I did open this one up. This is Autumn in the Garden. Opened up, and again, this is just a plastic bag that the stitcher had put it in there. Autumn in the Garden with this amazing fabric in there. Also, with all the DMC, you can hear beads. And then Midsummer's Night's Fairy. Sorry that I can pull it out. See. Sorry for the noise. There's that one. And one more. Yes, I did get 6. The Petal Fairy. And I've seen people stitching. None of these are out of print. So the patterns themselves are not that, I mean, they may not, they're readily available on 1-2-3 Stitch. Whether or not your LNS has them is a separate thing. And this, she had actually put everything on Flosstubes. This one does not have any fabric, but all the DMC. And there's some Kreinik in there, and there might be beads. I can't 100% tell. I got all of those things for under $20. So as I think everyone is aware, a piece of hand-dyed fabric that is a fat quarter usually goes, between like $25, $27. So great deal. And I'm very grateful either to the stitcher or to the stitcher's family for donating them to the Friends of the Library. And I get to have them now. A couple other things that were on the bottom of the pile that these are part of the gift certificate from 1-2-3 Stitch. Another Bella Filipina, Reina de las Flores. Beautiful, beautiful piece. And then I never had, I always, like, if you get the World of Cross Stitching, they have the Heritage Crafts and a lot of John Clayton Pretty Ladies. So I just picked this one up to see what it was like. This one, unlike Scarlet and Blue, this one is called Rose. So very pretty. And I love the way that she stands out, and then you've got the piano in the back in grayscale. All right, so that is all of the stitching, and obviously you can see I'm going to have a lot of cleaning up to do today. That is all of the stitching. In terms of what I have been reading, I did a lot of reading this month. I read, I think, over 15 books, some audio, some physical books. And so I would say the best book I read was actually not a new book. It was a classic. It was Giovanni's Room, written by James Baldwin. So it was written in the 1950s, and it's set in the 1950s about an American man who did the classic, I'm going to go find myself in Paris. But he's sort of living on the cheap. He doesn't, he's not a wealthy guy. He's not one of those people. But he goes and, he gets like sort of jobs to scrape by or whatever. And it's just sort of his life. And, it all takes place in one night. But it's him reflecting back. And basically his name is David. But Giovanni is someone that he met. He was an Italian man who had come to Paris. And it starts off on basically the eve of Giovanni's execution and David looking back. And basically it's sort of the choices that David has made. And Giovanni, he has a relationship with Giovanni, a sexual relationship with him. But it's not like, oh, this is the love of my life. It's more, he's pining over it, and he's trying to figure out who he is. And obviously this was the 1950s, and people weren't out. And so it's just a lot of sort of reconciling who he is and where he's come from, and just really, really brilliantly written. And it's one of those books that you can use whatever word you want, challenged, banned. Certainly here in Florida it is. And it's not, yes, there is some sexual content, but it's not like the books today. It is very mild, but he is gay, or the relationship he's talking about is a gay relationship. And, unfortunately in Florida, that's too much for some people. So, but anyhow, that's the book I read. If you're looking for something a little bit different, maybe a classic, James Baldwin is a brilliant writer. What have I been watching? The main show I have been watching, my husband and I watch a lot. Football season is coming to an end. Only a Super Bowl left. And so we sort of, especially with the Christmas break, watching just a lot of streaming things. The best one we watched was something called Get Millie Black. It is written by Marlon James. It's about a Jamaican police officer. She goes and, like as a kid, is sent to the UK to live, becomes a cop there, but then her mother dies and she goes back to Jamaica. And there's a case that she's on, but it's so much more than that. It's about her fractured relationship with her mother. It's about relationship with her sister, and just sort of the hell that her mother put her through, and just wasn't a good mother. And it's also centered around what starts out to be a missing child, teenager, and sort of goes on from there. And just, it's really, really well done. I think it's based on a short story that Marlon James wrote, but it is not but this is like a 5 or 6 part series. I think it's on Apple Plus. I think that's where you have to get it. So it's not, I know, the most accessible, but if you do have Apple Plus, I highly recommend that you watch it. And so that is all what I've been reading and watching in terms of life stuff. Again, very quiet January. Where I live in Florida, we did not get snow. I am in north central Florida, and the Panhandle and the very northernmost counties in Florida did get some snow. It does happen from time to time. It has actually snowed here in Gainesville where I live, but we didn't get any snow. So we didn't even get freezing rain, which actually was my bigger fear, because Floridians do not know how to drive in snow or freezing rain. And some people are stupid enough to think they do know how to do it. And so I've been here when we've had like freezing rain and snow, and you just hear sirens over and over and over because people go sliding off into a ditch. But it was, we didn't get any of that in the end. It was just bitter cold for us. It was in like the 20s. That's very hard for me. I am Floridian for a reason. So other than that, really not much going on. Just enjoying myself, doing my volunteer work and stitching. So with that, I will go. I hope I will see you again at the end of February. Take care.